So last video of the day, promise. I didn't get into the medical aspect of prepping. So, think about it. If the stuff hits the fan, what is it that you need medically? Is it vitamin D or prescription drugs? Some people, blood pressure. Luckily, I don't need the blood pressure medication no more. And my wife, my ex-wife, she would be appalled. She'd go, "Oh my God, you're not going to tell them." Well, in my case, my brain, I suffered an injury, and so I gotta use catheters, and so I have to have an ample supply of catheters. Suppose the supply chain gets completely broken and you can't get those, so I make sure I have an ample supply on hand, plus the lubricating jelly, or the surgical jelly, I guess a better way to call it. So that's the last thing. So now I wanted to address that comment and this is, you leave a comment. Tell me what you think about me addressing this comment and what you think. When I started this channel, I actually had, and that's the operative word, had some liberal Democrat friends. And that was back when the COVID nightmare was just hitting and everything. And that's why I took up hiking. I couldn't stand to be around these people because they all lost their minds. It was insane. And I just said, you know what? I just as soon be out on the trails and hiking and making videos. And then, as it progressed, and of course, here in Florida, the great Governor DeSantis lifted the requirements for wearing masks. Plus I saw what was happening in the rest of the country. With these tremendous lockdowns and shutting down restaurants and putting small businesses out. And I just thought about at that time, the freedom that I had here in Florida. And so my hiking videos were as much about hiking and biking and doing the things, but I also wanted to try to address what was taking place at the time and show how free we were. So I would, I might be out hiking and then I would come to a playground and I'd show you, maybe people out of the state of Florida, all these kids playing at the playground. None of them had masks on. There's no social distances. People are out barbecuing, having a good time. You go to a Democrat state and they had them locked in their houses, and so I was trying to show the contrast between what it is to be free versus what it is to live in an authoritarian dictatorship, which is basically what you had in California and New York and a lot of these Illinois, for example. There's still okay. Let's just take where I just came from, Charlottesville, Virginia, 3 months ago. They're still wearing. It's because it's a woke university. That's a Democrat town. The kids at the university are still wearing their masks outside. We haven't worn masks here in Florida now. I'm not a doctor. You do what you want. If you think it makes you safer, maybe it does. Who knows? You do. But that's the beauty here in Florida. We were given a choice. Same with the vaccines. I'm not against vaccines in any way, shape, or fashion, but I'm against mandating it. What happened to my body, my choice? I remember the women, my body, my choice. I can rip a baby out of my belly, but I think everybody should get stabbed with an experimental vaccine. I didn't understand it, so what my ex-wife would tell you is I alienated everybody, especially the circles that she moved in or I moved in, because that was a liberal type of environment, even here in Florida. At that time, I didn't have any conservative friends per se, not here anyway. And nobody wanted to talk about what was happening. And the crazy thing was that, these liberal Democrats, they would go out to eat. That was my ex-wife's favorite thing to do, is go out to eat. And I'd point out to her, I said, well, aren't you glad you live in the free state of Florida and you can go out to eat? I said, if you lived in New York or California, all the restaurants are closed. And then she would say, they are not. That's just your right-wing propaganda. And it was kind of like, well, let's just take the open border, right? There are still Democrats out there denying the fact that we have an open border and that 2 million people have crossed the border illegally. And some of them are still for it. I don't know how far you want to take this. With the fentanyl killing hundreds of thousands of people, the drug trafficking, the rapes, the sexual exploitation of children and women. And the Democrats seem to be all for it. And so that's why, I come out in these videos at the end of the video, and I always try to make a point about these things. And so what the complaint was, he says, look, if you wouldn't talk about those things, you would probably get an audience that's 50% bigger. Well, yeah, but then, of course, in the next video, I'm going to talk about these things. And so really, it's not going to matter whether I talk about it on this video or the next video or whatever, because as soon as they watch one of my videos where I say I'm not for an open border, I don't think 2 million people cross, and I think there's a bunch of terrorists in with these illegal aliens, I'm for legal immigration, and boom, a Democrat, they're not going to watch the channel. So now, am I going to get less controversial? Well, yeah, because pretty much now, and not in some Democrat places, but pretty much now the whole COVID idiocy is pretty much over. I don't know. I think the Navy SEALs won their case, so we didn't lose, because they've got the religious exemption now. Although I still think that Milley and Austin are still pushing down the vaccine mandate on the military, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And then if you I'm sorry where liberals get their news. There is a lot of evidence out there now that there might be some complications with the vaccines. You'd have to find the information and make your own determination. I think we've established that natural immunity does exist. These were all the things that were getting censored before. You couldn't even talk about these things. And so that's why in my videos, I was just trying to kind of skirt the edges of these issues to just kind of, hopefully, even if 10 people just watch the video, that, you get that message out. And so that's where the channel was. Now, okay, I am going to listen to the comment, and basically I will just finish my videos at this point, because there's no reason to talk about we have no vaccine mandates, because most everywhere has gotten rid of the vaccine mandate. Most everywhere, not a lot of the Democrat areas, but certainly in all the Republican states. So that's freedom, right? Freedom. You make your own choice. If you want it, get it, but don't force it on somebody. My body, my choice, right? If you want to rip a baby, or if you want to chop the head off of a baby right after it's born, go to California. You can do it. And hell, I'd give the mom the machete. When it pops out the womb, let her just whack the head right off of it right there, and there you go. There's your abortion. I don't see what the problem is. So yeah, some states, they don't want, they're limiting it up to 15 weeks. Now, it's 15 weeks. That's kind of a European thing. I think we're modeling that, and I think that's what it is here in Florida. Is that ample time? I'm not a woman. I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't really care that much about the abortion issue, other than the fact that I think it should be locally determined, and I was very proud of the Supreme Court for kicking it back to the states. So if you're a Democrat and you want abortion, elect people that in your community that are going to give you the ability to chop the head off of babies or suck them out of the womb anytime you want. I got no problem with that. But you're going to have to get the people elected locally. Don't push it down from out of Washington, D.C. on the rest of the country when half the country at least doesn't believe in it, or they believe that life is at conception, or at least somewhere during the pregnancy process that there is life. Do I know? I'm not God. I couldn't tell you. So anyway, all right, the future, I'll just basically say it's good to live in the free state of Florida, and that's how I'll just tie off the videos from this point, because we have had no mask mandates for 2.5 years, and we've had no vaccine mandates. In fact, that was another thing that, you point this out to a Democrat, and I would try to point this out to my wife. When I was up in Charlottesville, Virginia, the care that I got was awful, absolutely awful, because they fired all of the older nurses because they had mandates. They had vaccine mandates, and some of the doctors left because they wouldn't get the vaccine. So the service that I got was absolutely horrendous. Okay, and then you try to point that out to a liberal Democrat or a Democrat, and they say, well, that has nothing to do with the vaccine mandate. I said, well, why do you think all those people were fired? Well, they just, I don't know their reasoning. It doesn't make sense to me, but they left on their own, I guess, or whatever. But the beauty was that, thank God I'm back in Florida, was that we hired a lot of those people. So we've got in Miami a lot of New York City cops that they got let go because of the vaccine mandate. And we've got doctors and nurses actually here in the Villages area that we hired out of Democrat states because they fired them. And we gave them bonuses. So I think there was like a $3,000 bonus to try to get nurses and doctors and firemen, all of them that were fired in Democrat states. But you point this out to a Democrat or a liberal, and they're like, well, that never happened. That never happened. What are you talking about? It didn't happen. I can go into a doctor's office and meet somebody from Connecticut or wherever they were fired from, and they're so thankful to be here in Florida and have a good job because they refused to get the vaccine. How can but a Democrat says, well, that never happened. They never fired anybody. I don't know. The whole mindset, the hive mind, or whatever you want to call it, because I've heard it called that, they just seem to not see what's taking place, and it's hurting. It's dragging down the whole country, and I think we're heading for some really dark, troubling, difficult times. And that's kind of where my videos come in, is I'm trying to teach you what I'm doing to prepare as best I can with a broken neck, and of course getting in shape and hiking. Like I said, tomorrow I'm going to go hiking. Trying to get myself physically back. I got a long ways to go, but you know what? The good news is that because of my injury, I got to see life from the other side, from what it is to be where you can't lift a bag of dirt, and you got to figure out a way to get the bag of dirt from the front yard to the backyard. It used to be throw that sucker up on your shoulder, just hike it around to the back, right? So you got to be very innovative when you're handicapped, and then if you're healthy, you really need to be thinking about, okay, what happens if I'm not healthy? Suppose I do fall down and hit my head, or twist my knee, or stub my toe, or whatever it might be. I've gotten to experience it, and I know what it is now, and I think I'm getting pretty prepared to live handicapped, because if I do get better, obviously this won't be an issue for the next, hopefully I can stay in this house for many years, but 10, 15 years from now, as I'm getting older, all these things are going to come back. And so everything that I'm doing now will benefit me 15 years from now. Anyway, that's it. That's just addressing. So you tell me, leave a comment. Do you think that I get to, in the hiking videos, or the prepping videos or whatever, that I'm just way, way too political? I do try to keep them somewhat separate. If I'm going to talk about, and that's another thing, what's considered political? Well, once upon a time, was a vaccine considered political? I'd say before 2020, vaccine wasn't political. You could be. How is that? If that entered into a conversation, you said, "Hey, did you get the flu vaccine?" Oh, you're talking politics. You're talking politics. No, and then that wasn't politics, right? So that wasn't political. But then it became political. So you're not allowed to talk about that no more. Open borders. The border used to be a topic that you could discuss with anybody, but now it's political. You can't talk about it. Racism. I remember my ex-wife's sister came over here and called me a white supremacist racist. Told her to get the heck out of my house. Democrats believe your toaster's racist. Everything's racist. I'm looking at them like, I served in the military, and all of my superior commanders were of mixed race. A lot of Hispanics, a lot of. But do you think I ever looked at their skin color and worried about that? No, I wanted them to be good at their job so I might live to see another day. Oh my God. And so that became political, the color of your skin became political, so basically everything. So when the guy commented, I assume it was a guy, and says, you always want to talk politics. Well, everything is politics, because that's the way the Democrats want it. Okay. The shipping we sent some illegal aliens to Martha's Vineyards. That's political. How is that political? Anyway, that's it. That's it for the video. Good to live in the free Republican state of Florida. Now, if the Republicans were off the deep end and doing crazy stuff, I'd say good to live in the free Democrat state of Florida. But right now, the Republicans seem a little bit more sane, not the Brinos, but the MAGA extremist Republicans seem a little bit more sane about the world that we live in, and I just appreciate being in Florida. And I'm sorry, the Democrats here, you know, they go out to eat, and they don't even see it. They're like, oh, well, you can go out to eat anywhere. No, you can't. No, you can't. And, oh, kids in school, that's another thing. So that's political. It's political to have kids in school, you know, or have kids not wear masks at school. That's political. You know, we've had kids in school with no masks for God knows how long here in Florida. You know, you get up to a Democrat state, I think in New York City or something, they were still making the kids wear masks, little 5-year-olds. Oh my God! But the Democrats here, they're like, well, you know, we sent our kids to school and they didn't have masks on. Well, okay, but you could put masks on them if you want to, here in Florida. But in New York, you know, you're forced to put a mask on your kid, and they don't even see it. Most of the Democrats around here, they send their kids to school. They don't have masks on. And I don't know. You tell me. Explain it to me, please.